The main drivers of this supplementary budget include payment of debt and compensation expenses arising from court cases, payment of arrears, which is a key reform of government, payment for litigation, and capital expenditure to enhance production. Under Treasury operations, 403.1 billion is required to cover shortfall on debt obligations and compensation arising from court cases. The Ministry of Defense requires 62 billion to cater for operational shortfalls of food, classified expenditure, and fuel for land and air forces. The Ministry of Education and Sports requires 10.2 billion for UNEB. 2 billion is for emergency construction of 26 primary schools devastated by heavy rains in Kamuli district. Ministry of Finance requires 9 billion for recurrent expenditure. The National Citizenship and Immigration Control requires 20 billion shillings for the National ID project. The Ministry of Public Service needs 37.48 billion. Electoral Commission 20 billion for procurement of the voter verification of the identification system for the 2016 general elections. The Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs needs 15.77 billion to effectively defend government in the face of litigation, and the Ministry of Agriculture receives 40 billion. Keith Muhakanizi, the Secretary to the Treasury, says the blame for the shortfalls in these ministries rests squarely on the shoulders of the Finance Ministry's poor budgeting.
In the past, we are not also doing a good budgeting. If we are doing a good budgeting, you should have provided enough money for current costs. What do you expect the defense to do about food? Of course, prisoners is a different problem. They are prisoners are increasing in prisons at a speed which I don't know.
However, Muhakanizi assures the country that this 847.2014 billion shillings supplementary budget will not affect the budget performance.
Much of it, as I said, does not require extra resources. For example, if you have used contingency, you have shifted it from contingency to this one, which we planned for, which is meant for anyway. Two, is that you have made a saving, but also, of course, you get extra revenue, which we are using to pay all this. Much of it is that technical supplementary. It does not require extra resources that you are going to overborrow.
This is conditioned on the surplus tax revenue of 18 billion as of February, budget surplus grants and surpluses of 10.9 billion and 27.7 billion respectively. That is an extra 56.6 billion more than programmed, and also the 400 million US dollars the country saved when Uganda won a case in London. He adds that the country will not incur any additional debts further than the agreed 1.380 billion. Anita Mwanguzi, WBS News in Kampala.